Hello, and welcome to a presentation on David A. Kolb's Experiential Learning Theory. So, by the end of this presentation, learners will be able to define experiential learning theory, identify the process of experiential learning theory, and understand the experiential learning cycle. I hear and I forget, I see and I remember, I do and I understand. This is a well-known quote from Confucius that many people use to show how important interacting and creating hands-on experiences are for learners. The definition that best describes Kolb's theory is learning is the process whereby knowledge is created through the transformation of experience. So before we get into Kolb's theory, we need to have some background knowledge on him. Who is David A. Kolb? Kolb is a psychologist and an educational theorist. According to Cherry in an article from Very Well Mind, he earned his undergraduate degree from Knox College in 1961 and his PhD in social psychology from Harvard University. He currently is a professor of organizational behavior at Weatherhead School of Management at Case Western Reserve University. He is best known for Kolb's learning styles, Kolb's learning style inventory, and of course, experiential learning theory. We are mainly going to focus on experiential learning theory cycle, but I will touch on the learning styles a bit. Here we have a chart to see how each level of theory works. The cycle shows each component of the theory that the learners can experience. I will go into more depth and provide a corresponding example for each of the components. Although you are able to start at any step of the cycle, it is suggested that the learner begins at the concrete experience. Concrete experience is a new experience or situation is encountered, is when a new experience or situation is encountered or a reinterpretation of existing experience, which is known as the do. So for this example, I'm going to use learning to drive a car. As a child, you are exposed to so many new things that affect your lives. A transitioning moment in your life is when you learn how to drive a car. Without knowing it, you are registering the information of starting the car and controlling the wheel. If this car looks familiar to you, then you already have the pre-existing memory of how to control the car and the mimicking that happens when you see your parents or someone you know is driving. This is the beginning stage of experiential learning cycle. The next step is reflective observation. This step is when the individual reflects on the experience before making any judgments. So for this example, here you reflect now as a teenager before getting your license, the steps that you've seen your parents or someone you know drive or do. They put the key in the ignition to start the car, move the control bearing, and release the brake to begin driving. Now as a teenager, you are able to reflect on these steps and think about the experience that you are creating. Here, you are in a stage of reflecting. Abstract conceptualization is when your reflections give rise to a new idea or modification of an existing abstract concept. This could be the stage to where you decide that it is time to start studying for your permit or thinking about the steps it takes to receive your license. You've thought about your parents driving or someone you know driving and then implementing what you've seen to what you know. In this final step, active experimentation, the planning begins. This is where the learner applies themselves to the world around them to see the results. For this step, taking your driver's test, passing or failing to see if what you've learned and what you have experienced was beneficial to you. If passing, the learner is able to take the license picture and start applying the learned behaviors from driving school and testing the results by driving on their own. Here we have a simpler chart that explains each step in, of course, a simpler way where there is understanding of the process. So you first start out with the experience, and then you move to the reflection, conceptualization, and then the test. So as mentioned before, Kolb is known for the 4 learning styles that corresponds with the experiential learning theory and chart. Assimilator learners require clear explanation rather than a practical opportunity. They learn better when presented with logical theories. Convergers are learners who prefer technical tasks and who also learn better with practical applications of concepts and theories. Accommodators are the hands-on learners who learn better with the hands-on experiences rather than theories. Divergers create a different perspective. They learn better with collections of wide range information. Next, we have the 2 charts. Each chart displays how the theory and the 4 different learning styles correlate. As you can see, the learning styles and the exponential learning cycles are closely related. The 2x2 chart shows what categories in the learning and the 4 learning styles correlate with the steps in the cycle. So today you have learned how to define experiential learning theory, how to identify the process of experiential learning theory, and how to understand the experiential learning cycle. Thank you for following along and listening.